Good morning. I'm Todd Shimkus with the Saratoga County Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined today by Kathleen Fyfe, who's our VP for Community Development. Good morning.
Good morning.
So we are here at the Adirondack Trust branch in Wilton. For those who are familiar with the story, this branch actually burned down about a year and a half ago. They have rebuilt it right here on Route 9. It's a phenomenal facility, and stop on by. We hear they're open at 11 this morning. We're in here a little early, taking advantage of this great conference room that they have right up front. And we're going to talk about two things today. We're going to talk about the Saratoga County Institute for Management, and we're also going to talk about what I know is special to everyone with the Chamber, Leadership Saratoga. But Kathleen, why don't we start with the Institute for Management?
Sure.
Can you tell everybody out there when this was formed and why? Why was this put together by the Chamber?
About this time last year, I was noticing I was having a number of conversations with business leaders, and they were saying the same thing regardless of their industry, which was we're promoting our people from within our teams, but we don't necessarily have the internal capacity or internal resources to actually give them the development and the training to become good leaders and good managers. So we've moved them into these positions, but we need to give them this training. And because I kept hearing this from disparate industries, and it didn't matter the size of the company either, I was hearing this from real small organizations and really large organizations all across Saratoga County, and got to thinking, hey, well, we're the Chamber, and what we do is provide business resources. So through some conversation, obviously, that you and I had, and then I reached out to the business community and said, if you think this really is an issue, come have a conversation with me, and let's talk about what your needs are and what you think what sorts of topics you would love your staff to be engaged in and developed in to better allow them to manage in their roles and in their companies. And I felt pretty confident that we were onto something good because it was a random Tuesday afternoon in July. And we had 25 different leaders from businesses all over Saratoga County who decided to show up on an afternoon and engage in this conversation. So we were able to get a lot of feedback from them as to what it was they thought that they were looking for. And then we created this program, the Saratoga County Institute of Management.
And so, as you know, we didn't do it alone. Do you want to talk a little bit about the partners that we have that have made this possible?
Absolutely. So in addition to gathering all of the information from the business community themselves, because it was important that we created a program that was what they needed, not what we thought they needed. We needed to actually know from them. I also happened to be able to have a conversation with Dr. Joe Garcia at Empire State College. And he and I were engaging in some of this sort of conversation, and he said, you know what, this is what Empire State College does too. We're the school for adult learning, and we want to partner with you. And so that created a wonderful opportunity so that we have our sessions, all of the training sessions are held in their wonderful facility on West Avenue, which gives us access to great technology, super parking, a beautiful facility, and a consistency of the same place each time, and an air of academicness to this, because here we are at the college. And then another fabulous partnership that just sort of happened as this was being created was the Saratoga County Capital Resources Corporation. And they are formed through the County Board of Supervisors with the goal of funding and helping to support workforce development issues in Saratoga County. So they got really excited about this, and through some more conversation decided to help us financially so that we were able to offer some scholarships for our impact sector or nonprofit organizations or other small businesses who might not otherwise have that in the budget because we sprung it on them. It's new this year. Or wouldn't be able to necessarily fund a participant going through the program. So that was a great partnership too.
And so what's the role, you've organized this from the Chamber side, so yeah. What's the role of the Chamber versus SUNY Empire State College?
So the way that the program developed is that it's three-month tracks over the course of a year. And each track has an orientation and 6 sessions. So the partnership with Empire State College, they supply 2 of their faculty to facilitate 2 sessions during each track. and we have the opportunity to reach out to the business community for the other 4 facilitators for the track. So it's a really nice balance of sort of people from academia, but with Empire State College, they're also business people, and then also the business community of chamber members in Saratoga County. So it's a nice balance between those 2.
Awesome. So what do participants get out of this? So if they decide to take part, you've got track 2 coming up in less than 10 days. Yeah. What do participants get?
Absolutely empowering set of skills and new development. And I say that because I just received evaluations from the participants of track 1, and that was overwhelmingly the response. One of the questions I asked them was, would you suggest this program for other people in the future? And overwhelmingly. And the other great thing that they said was, consistently said, if you're a new manager or even if you've been doing it for a while, these are really good skills and really good topics to brush up on what you know and to offer you additional skills that maybe you haven't had the opportunity to learn yet. So it's a commitment. It's every other Friday from 8 in the morning until noon, but it's just 3 months, and it's 9 months if you do all 3 of them. And we have had some people who are already signed up for all 3. And then we'll see what else happens with tracks 2 and 3.
Do you want to talk in a little detail about track 2?
Yes.
So when does that start? What does it cover? And what should somebody do in order to, if they're interested?
Yeah, a little bit of additional background. The way that this ended up being structured based on what we heard from the business community is that the 3 tracks are thematic. So within each track, the sessions have a theme, an overarching theme to them. So the first track was really on operational management, what people needed to know about the management of the business itself. Track 2 is really more of a self-awareness component, what people in management need to understand about themselves in order to be able to manage other people. So we start with an orientation on April 26th. And then May 3rd is our first session. We'll be covering DISC communication styles for managers. So this is really communication preferences and behavioral styles, so that they have an understanding both for themselves and then also how to interact with other people and understand different communication styles. Followed by mindful leadership, really being in tune and aware about leadership and what we were bringing to the table and what other people are bringing to the table so that we can best manage those situations. Critical thinking will be one of our sessions. Time management, communications, and effective listening, which is really important from a management perspective. So we'll start on April 26th with orientation and effective listening. The last session is on July 26th.
And maybe could you talk about who some of the facilitators are for some of those tracks, just so people get a sense of who we have doing this?
Sure. So for DISC communication styles, they get me. I'm a trainer and a facilitator for that, so it was really easy for me to bring those skills to the table in this capacity. Dr. Joe Garcia, my partner in crime at Empire State College, he will be facilitating our critical thinking session, which I know he's really excited about because he loves to be able to have the opportunity to teach and facilitate, and that's one of the topics that he's really passionate about, so that'll be great. Linda Toohey, who is the queen of time management, and my predecessor with Leadership Saratoga and former vice president of the chamber, she'll be joining us for our time management. Diana Santani, who was also a facilitator in track 1, and she's a professor with Empire State College, she'll be joining us for communications. Libby Carino, who does mindful leadership all over the state, actually, especially specifically with attorney well-being. She'll be facilitating our mindful leadership session. So I'm really pleased and honored because between the school and the network through the chamber, we're bringing the best of the best to be able to come and facilitate. These are people who really know these topics, and it's great to be able to do that, to reach out and bring the people with the expertise that we can handpick for each of the different sessions.
Just to let everybody know, if you're tuning in live, if you have any questions for Kathleen, either about the Saratoga County Institute for Management or Leadership Saratoga, which we're going to start talking about in a couple minutes, you can use the comment section. I'm trying to pay a little attention to the screen here, looking for comments that might be up there, questions that might come in, so that I can ask Kathleen those questions that you might have. And trying to do the interview at the same time. So I'm trying to multitask a little bit here. But again, just leave a comment in the comment section. I'd be happy to ask Kathleen. So who's an ideal participant, maybe particularly for track 2?
Great question. I think the one characteristic for someone who wants to join track 2 in the management training is someone who really is devoted to their own personal growth and development. As I said before, it really didn't matter what industry, what size of company, that employers were looking for ways to develop their people. And you're going to get as much out of something as you're willing to put into it. So it's really, I think, individuals who are looking for their own growth and really care about wanting to lead and manage people in the best way possible. I mean, it's development's an ongoing, lifelong process, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how does someone go about applying for the Saratoga County Institute for Management?
It's really easy, actually. Go to saratoga.org, and under our chamber, if you click on that navigation, the second one down says Saratoga County Institute of Management, or SCIM, because the world needs more acronymms. So
and we really don't like that acronym, but it is what it is.
We'll just say Institute for Management, because they're. And if you select that, it'll bring you to a page right on the Chamber's website that has more information, including the dates, all of the upcoming tracks, the sessions, what they entail, so you don't have to try to remember everything that we're talking about on this Facebook Live. And then that brings you to a registration link.
Okay. And you mentioned that time management is a piece of track 2. So what if somebody looks at this? Six weeks is a half day session every. That's a pretty big time commitment.
Yeah.
What if somebody had to be late or couldn't make one of the sessions? What's your recommendation to people?
Well, I think, again, you get as much out of something as you put into it. Hopefully this is a smashing pilot success, and we will have this program running again next year. So I would suggest to people, take a look at your schedule. And if it's not the right time right now, that's okay, because you want to be able to engage and get out of it what you can. If you enroll in the program and you realize that you're going to be late or there's something that's a conflict, you just let me know, and 40 lashes with a wet noodle, and then we'll be fine. I will say too that the way that we created this program with these specific tracks was also really intentional, because what we heard from the business community was, yes, it's a time commitment. I can commit to my employee being out of the office every other Friday for 3 months for 4 hours. That's okay. But also, different employees might need different development. And by creating this in 3 individual tracks, it allows the employer to select, okay, maybe employee number 1 would really benefit from tracks 1 and tracks 2. And employee number 2, I'm going to put them through all 3. Maybe employee number 3 only really needs track 2. So it allows that flexibility for the employer to really be specific about the development that they want to give their staff.
Okay, and so thinking of somebody who's the business owner or general manager, HR manager, and they have somebody that they think this might be a great program for, what would you recommend about approaching that employee? How do they go about making this seem like a great opportunity?
Well, you just said it. That's exactly what it is. It's a great opportunity. It's resources that the businesses say that they don't have, and it's affordable. It's $1,500 per person per track. And if a business wants to put someone through multiple tracks or multiple people in a track, we offer them a little bit of a discount, just as a kind of thank you for joining us for this. But I think even more and more now with a tight job market, retention for businesses is so important. And when you can offer this kind of development and growth, this is an additional benefit and a reason why employees might want to stay with a company longer, because they see that the company values them and their development and growth. So it's a great opportunity.
Awesome. So you mentioned that the Saratoga County Capital Resource Corporation, which is chaired by Anita Daly. It was Art Johnson who's on our board, the supervisor here in Wilton, where we are today at Adirondack Trust. They were all involved in supporting us. Ray O'Connor, again, who's very active in Wilton and lives here, runs the organization. Are there any? They provided money for scholarships. Are there any scholarships still left? Full or partial? Okay.
Unfortunately, no. Those went very quickly, and people were very excited, and it gave some opportunity for some organizations who really wouldn't have been able to step in this year. And because we're talking about it now and it's April, I'm hopeful that some other small businesses might be able to include this in their budget for the next year. But I'm also hopeful that we will again have this financial support and commitment going forward when we continue running the Institute for Management in the following years.
Terrific. Let's pivot slightly. I want to try to make a segue here that's fun. Part of the reason that we're doing this is we had a great model sort of to follow, and that's Leadership Saratoga. Mm-hmm. So before we jump to Leadership Saratoga, maybe if you could chat about the knowledge you had that's involved in leadership that allowed you to put this program together.
Yeah. It's a great question. And one of the easy segues from one program to the next is a similarity that I think was really intentional and meaningful. There's no more than 24 people that we have spots for both Institute for Management and also Leadership Saratoga. And over the many years of running the Leadership Saratoga program, it's become very apparent and clear to me that it's really an important number, because by keeping the class size small, we do a lot of small group work, there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of sharing with one another, and that size, 24, just makes for a very manageable group of people. It also, as I facilitate the Leadership Saratoga program, similarly, I've had the joy and opportunity to reach out into the community to find the best of the best to help facilitate sessions. And so I'm able to do the same thing with the Institute of Management. So it really provides exceptional facilitation and professionalism and skills through the people we're able to bring in for the talks.
Cool. So let's pivot now officially to Leadership Saratoga. And why don't you start with sort of the mission and purpose of Leadership Saratoga, why it was created and what it does.
Yeah. So
besides change the world.
Besides change the world, which we're doing every day. So the history is actually back in the mid-'80s, essentially a group of community leaders started noticing that they were all in the same meetings when it came to volunteer give back to the community, whether that was sitting on a board of directors or board of education, and they looked around and said, we got to do something to help educate other people to fill these roles. It can't just be this small group of us. And Linda Toohey and the Chamber created the Leadership Saratoga program, and the first class graduated in 1986. So it's been going strong for many,
I'm not going to tell you where I was in 1986. We'll leave that for another day.
And the mission, the purpose, the reason for this program is exactly still the same mission as it was back in the 80s when this was developed. Of course, it's morphed and changed and grown over the years as has been necessary. But it's really to educate people on how to be really strong community volunteer leaders. The people who go through this program are given skills and knowledge and expertise to go back into our communities and create an impact and make our communities better for everyone else who lives in them. So there are leadership programs, often through chambers, that exist all over the country. And what's really cool is that they tend to be specific to the communities where they reside. And so ours really is specific to commitment to our community. Well, that being said, we also hope that some of the skills and knowledge and learning that happens as you go through this program is also applied in people's personal and professional lives too.
Sure. If you're going to be a good leader in the community, you're going to be a good leader in the workplace too.
That's what we hope, for sure. Yeah.
So talk about, again, Leadership Saratoga. What do participants get out of it?
Wow, tremendous knowledge about the community, knowledge about how impact sector or nonprofit organizations actually function. They learn good board governance. We have conversations around ethical dilemmas. We get an overall understanding of how our county government works and who some of the human service organizations in our community are, and the services that they provide and how they make an impact for other people. It's really a breadth of knowledge, and I've had people who are lifelong residents of Saratoga County who have said, wow, I didn't know this existed, or I was totally unfamiliar with this part of our community or this place in our community. speak nothing of the people who have maybe moved here in the last however many years, who then get engaged. And it's really a very broad, overarching knowledge of who our Saratoga community is, and we're pretty special.
We are. So how does somebody apply for Leadership Saratoga?
So applications opened this morning. They are now live.
Boy, our timing was pretty good on that, wasn't it?
Yeah. So you go to the leadershipsaratoga.org, leadershipsaratoga.org, that's the website. On the left-hand side, there's five buttons across out of the navigation, and it says apply to the program. There's an online application that someone would fill out. It's not too lengthy, it's not grueling, we try to make it fun. And then after someone fills out the application, they would make arrangements to have interviews with members of our advisory board. Those are all listed on our website. There's 14 members of our community who graciously give up their time to have interviews with folks. We ask for a minimum of 3, but no more than 4 interviews with board members, and then an interview with myself as the program director.
And there's no math involved in the application?
No, there's no math involved, which is why it's a good application. The process is open until May 31st, so there's a 6-week window for people to have the opportunity to decide if they want to go and apply to the program.
And this is one of those programs where you don't make the decision on who gets in, I don't make the decision.
I barely even tell you who applies.
Which is good, which is awesome. So there's no way to influence either one of us to make that happen. We have more applications generally than we have positions. So what is the advisory council, the group that does make this decision, what are they looking for in an applicant to make them a better applicant to get into the program? Yeah,
it's a really good question. So the goal of those 14 individuals, when we sit down in early June to have a very spirited conversation, is to select the most diverse group of 24 people that they can from the applicant pool that we have. So that being said, there is not really any definition of the right kind of person to apply, with a couple of exceptions. I would say what they're looking for is a genuine commitment to impact positive outcomes in our community in the future. If this is something for building your business or networking, this is probably not the right program for you. This is very intentional about finding those people who really believe in making an impact in their community. And then the other consideration, I would say, is the propensity for someone to leave our community. Life happens, we get that, and sometimes decisions will be made that remove someone from our county. And while we support that and everyone's growth, we're really hoping that the people who go through this program are going to stay here in our community and make a difference. So we want diversity, and that means age, gender, industry, levels of experience. It's runs the gamut, whatever you can think of. I joke, right-handed, left-handed, we want a little bit of everything.
Awesome. So, and we sort of talked about this, but I want to stress again, everybody doesn't get in.
No.
So why not? What are some of the reasons for that?
The interesting thing every year is that it depends on the pool of applicants. So if we have, this was a standing joke, if we have 8 attorneys who are male, who are 36, who are white, and they all live in Clifton Park, they're not all going to get into the program because that doesn't add some to the diversity. But if you think about other backgrounds that people have, what challenges they may have faced during their lives up to that point, we want to see people coming from different perspectives and different backgrounds, because when you can have conversations with people who don't think like you and haven't experienced the world like you, then you can start to understand different viewpoints and really have discussion around topics that can broaden your mind and open your eyes.
I think the number we share, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that we have over 500 members of the Leadership Saratoga alumni that now serve on more than 140 local nonprofit impact sector boards, councils, all the different organizations. Is that true?
I would say, and it's probably getting closer to 600 because the program's just been around as long as it has. And I joke, you can find us everywhere. You start talking to people, like if you look at the online directory, we have a great online directory, so you can start to scroll through, and it's not a bad idea for people who are interested in potentially applying to the program to look through the directory. I'm sure that there are names that they'll see that are familiar to them, whether it's through work or their own volunteerism or faith organizations they might be associated with. So, yeah, there's a lot.
And I think it's important for maybe both that you don't have to be a member of the chamber.
Nope.
Your organization doesn't. In fact, talk about some of, maybe not the individual people, but somebody who necessarily wouldn't be a chamber member that's participating in the program.
Definitely. And I think that's a really, really important component of this, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because what that opens for us is the opportunity for individuals who are retired, individuals who might be stay-at-home parents and they're not in the working environment currently. When I went through the program, proud graduate of 2009, we had a member of our class who was a retired C-suite exec. He sure brought a whole bunch of knowledge, perspective, and life experience that someone in my class who was, say, 25 and kind of new in this environment, they had so much to share that was so different from one another. And back to the diversity, that's really, really important that we have that opportunity to allow people who want to be part of the community to apply to be part of the program.
So I, for one, know how important it is to follow the application process and do it on time. I am not a graduate because I didn't get my application in on time. Thank you, Linda Toohey. Anyways, for keeping that rule there.
Right.
Doesn't matter who you know
That's
to
right.
get in there.
That's right.
I'm the poster child for that. But walk people through some of the deadlines in terms of applying. What should they be doing today, and then what's the next performance standard they've got to meet by when?
Yep. So as we said, applications went live this morning, so you can go online and apply. It is up to the applicant to reach out to members of the advisory board and to me to set up those interviews. The interviews need to be completed by 5 p.m. on May 31st. And also for people who are interested, we have an informational session that's happening on Thursday, April 25th at 5 p.m. at the chamber. I will be there, but I think even more importantly, we'll have 3 or 4 members of this year's class, which is getting ready to graduate on May 15th, who will be in the room just to have conversation with people who are interested in potentially applying to the program so that they can share their firsthand, real, current experiences and what they took away from the program with people who are interested in potentially applying.
And I think one of the, I've worked at 3, this is the 3rd chamber I've worked at. I've certainly been involved in the chamber executive profession. I know a lot of people around the country that run chambers and all the great things they're doing, and a lot of folks have leadership programs. I think one of the things that's exciting to me about this one is the Alumni Association. You mentioned the fact that the advisory board, in looking at applicants, looks for people that are more likely than not to be able to stay in the community, to want to stay here and make a difference. So once you graduate, as this class will, the latest class in May, they're invited to be a part of, you got to learn the secret handshake. I think there is some dues that they have to pay. Minimal amount. But talk about how you extend Leadership Saratoga to make sure that the folks that have graduated from the program still feel engaged in the community, trained to be better leaders, understanding of the common trends that are now taking place that are important. Yeah,
I am eternally grateful that when Linda graduated the very first class, she started the Alumni Association. So it's been going strong since 1986, and every year adding up to 24 additional people into the mix. And there's an Alumni Association board that meets on a regular basis, and they put together networking and mixer type opportunities for alums to gather with one another. Often if there's a specific topic that we want to offer for alums to come and have a refresher on, or it's new information that we want to make sure alums are familiar with, they handle organizing those sorts of things. I was never a member of a sorority when I was in college, but I get the sense that...
Neither was I.
No. But I get the sense that the Alumni Association has a little bit of similarity in that what I've experienced and witnessed is that when an alum realizes they're facing a challenge, or they have a question, or they need to talk to someone with a certain skill set, they can pick up the phone and call any other alumni from the directory who will put down whatever it is they're doing and say, I'm here for you, I got your back, how can I help you? Because there's this shared experience, even though they weren't in the same class, of this understanding that this is someone who cares deeply about our community, just like I do. So I'm going to do whatever I can to support them in their efforts too. So it's a really great way to keep them engaged with one another and constantly learning from each other.
I go to the breakfast every year.
Yes.
And everybody's proudly wearing, what year they graduated, and everybody sits at the table with the class of people that they graduated from. It's sort of a reunion and renewing all of that. And of course, I have to put rejected on my name tag. But that's okay. I'm really not holding that against that. So
it's true. It's lifelong friendships that are made, and because of how the classes are selected, often these are people who never would have had an opportunity to cross paths through their normal lives and normal routines. So that's also very, very cool too.
And you've set it up as well so that there is a volunteer match program.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yep. This was created a couple of years ago with the Alumni Association board was sitting going, what is our function? What is it we're supposed to do? And resoundingly said, we're supposed to help our alums be connected in the community. So how do we do this? The directory itself, you can search the alums based on skills and based on their interests, which is wonderful for our impact sectors who are looking for volunteers or board members, but it's kind of passive. So what we created is this volunteer match resource, which is much more of an active way to let our alumni know when there's opportunities in the community. So our impact sector organizations log into the website and they post what opportunities they have. They share what the skills are that maybe would be really helpful for this position. And then this post connects every Thursday. Algorithm runs somewhere in the background, and all alums who have a match with this volunteer opportunity can get an email notification that says, hey, here's another opportunity for you to give back to the community and get involved, so reach out to them. And it's been working really, really well.
Well, and I think one of the things that you've tied in as a result of this is you have a profound knowledge of what the impact sector, nonprofits, charitable organizations, what they need and what they're looking for. Can you talk about how that's sort of extended the reach of the chamber in terms of working with that community?
Absolutely. So that's really grown over the years that I've been in this position. And we have quarterly meetings with all executive directors and other leadership from the impact sector to talk about what challenges are they facing, what best practices. I learn a lot from them in those conversations about things that they might be needing so that we can provide additional resources to our impact sector if there's things that they need. We also we have a wonderful relationship with an organization called the New York Council of Nonprofits, or NYCON, which is exactly what it sounds like they are, a statewide organization that works to support the efforts of the nonprofit or impact sector organizations. And through our relationship with NYCON, which is a member-based organization, all of our chamber member impact sectors are also automatically members of NYCON. So for those organizations, they get this dual opportunity of supports and services from the chamber, but also from NYCON too. So that's been really helpful.
Well, and as you can see,
drilling.
We're here at the Adirondack Trust branch building in Wilton, and we're in their little conference room, and they're cleaning up before the customers come in. So I think we take, which is awesome. We really appreciate them hosting us here. So I think I have one sort of final question about Leadership Saratoga, and it's related to again the individuals and their ability to stay involved in the community. We have a great community where people want to volunteer. So let's say that somebody's out there and they're just not going to apply for Leadership Saratoga. Can they still find out how to get involved and how to make a difference here?
Absolutely. I would say there's a handful of ways we can do that. One is there's volunteer listings through the Chamber's Job Zone that people can go on to Saratoga.org, click on the Job Zone, and see what volunteer opportunities exist. Another would be they can reach out to me. Sometimes I know other things that are going on. And then lastly, I would just encourage people, if you want to volunteer, do it. One of my favorite sayings, which I stole from you and I use all the time, is that the world is run by those who show up. And so if you have a passion about something or you care about something, they don't know that you're out there, right? So raise your hand, give them a call, shoot them an email, and say, I care about X, and your organization works with X, and this is the sort of time commitment I can make. But our communities are as good as the people who step up and decide to lead them and volunteer in them and make a difference for other people. So my advice is go do it.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap. If somebody's interested in the Saratoga County Institute for Management, where do they go? What do they do?
Saratoga.org. Click on our chamber, then you'll see Saratoga County Institute for Management, and that'll lead you to a page with all of the information and a link to apply to the program. And basically we have until, I would say, Monday or Tuesday of next week, just because I have to finish getting the materials ready for people to register for Track 2, which again begins on April 26th.
Okay, and how about the same thing for Leadership Saratoga?
Leadership Saratoga opens today, runs through May 31st. LeadershipSaratoga.org, and you'll see apply to the program. They can go there and fill out the online application and then schedule interviews.
Terrific. I want to thank Kathleen Fyfe, our VP for Community Development, for doing this. Thank you all for tuning in today, and thanks to Richie Snyder, who's behind the camera here, making sure we put this all together and did it on time and in a really, hopefully, cool manner. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and thanks to the Adirondack Trust Company for hosting us.